Hello dear students, welcome to the first chapter of the Quantitative Techniques for Business. This chapter is Quantitative Techniques, and this is our first lecture for the first chapter, the Quantitative Techniques. In this lecture, we are going to discuss what we mean by the term is Quantitative Techniques, and what are the characteristics and what are the classifications and functions of the quantitative techniques. Okay, these are the important contents regarding the first lecture. What do you mean by quantitative techniques? What are the characteristics? What are the classifications and functions of quantitative techniques? Okay, the first of all, what do you mean by the term quantitative techniques? In the banking examination, there's one of the important session is quantitative techniques, aptitude. So what is the quantitative techniques? The quantitative techniques are statistical and operational programming technique. Quantitative techniques are statistical or the programming techniques used for decision making. It is a combination of the statistical, mathematical and operating techniques for the purpose of the decision making. Especially in the business and industrial sector, we take the lot of decision with help of the quantitative techniques. Therefore, the quantitative techniques is a techniques used for the statistical analysis for the purpose of the decision making. It consists of a lot of mathematical, statistical and the operational techniques of the data collected through the polls, questionnaire and the survey. The term is known as the quantitative techniques. These techniques involve the introduction of element of quantities, that is involve use of numbers, symbols and the mathematical expressions. All are the important elements for the decision making purpose. Therefore, the quantitative techniques always deals with lot of statistical, mathematical and the operational techniques. Such category of technique is known as the quantitative techniques. These techniques is purely for the decision making purpose. As a management point of view, an industrial point of view, these techniques are used by the expert for taking the right decision. In your project, suppose you are preparing the project, we have to use lot of the quantitative techniques for the purpose for the effective submission of your project. So the concept is known as the quantitative techniques. And what are the important characteristics of the quantitative techniques? And quantitative techniques have certain characteristics. Here we are discussing what are the important characteristics of the quantitative techniques. The first characteristics, the results are based on the large sample size and representing the population. That means the quantitative technique is a statistical techniques. Therefore, it is relating with the populations and the sample. What is the population? In your research methodology point of view, there is a population. What is the population? Statistical classes, you already feel the term is population, the totality. The term is known as the population. What is sample? Samples are representation of the population. So the concept quantitative techniques deal with the large size of samples and representing population. The populations and samples are the one of the important elements of the quantitative techniques. That's the results are based on the sample size. That's the first characteristics of the quantitative techniques. The research study can usually replicated or repeated given the highest reliability. The quantitative techniques are the repeated, repeated given in the highest reliability. The research studies we are using a lot of the quantitative techniques. So the research study can usually replicated or repeated given in the highest reliability. The researcher has clearly defined the research question to which objectives and answers are sought. The quantitative techniques are very useful for the researchers. So define your research question and which objectives are sought to make your research questions make cheyanum adu kandathanum quantitative techniques very important aanu. You can easily use. And another one is all aspects of studies are carefully designed before the data are collected. In a quantitative techniques, all aspects of the studies are carefully designed before the data is collected. Here collective, this careful designing is involved in your the quantitative techniques. All the aspects of studies are clearly or carefully designed before the data is collected. That's another important characteristics of the quantitative techniques. And the data are in the form of the number of statistics and often arrange table, chart, figures and other non-textual format. The quantitative techniques are very useful for the data are classified in the statistical format like the table, chart, figures and other non-textual forms. So that is one of the important applicability of the quantitative techniques. Another project can be used to generalize the concept more widely, predicting the futures. These techniques can be used in your project. Suppose you're making the major project or minor project, you can easily use the concept, the quantitative techniques, investigating the relationship between the variable. So this is very useful for your project. A research tool or the questionnaire or the computer software to collect the numerical data. So we can easily collect a lot of the numerical data from the questionnaires. So these are the important characteristics of the quantitative techniques. What is the quantitative techniques? The quantitative techniques, it's a mathematical or the operational technique is used for the decision making. These are the important characteristics regarding the quantitative techniques. It's large samples are involved and is usually replicated and repeated and defined with research question, and studies always carefully designed, and we can use a lot of the tables, chart and the non-textual formats in the quantitative techniques. Is the most widely protected and also established in the causal relationship. Is also helpful for the computer software designing and questionnaire. These are the important characteristics of the quantitative techniques. Okay, and after that we are classification. We are just classifying the different types of quantitative techniques. Normally three categories of quantitative techniques. There are mainly three categories of the quantitative techniques. The first one, mathematical quantitative techniques. The first one is the mathematical quantitative techniques, and second one is statistical quantitative techniques, and third one is the programming quantitative techniques. These are three important classification of quantitative techniques. Discussing the first one is the mathematical techniques. The first classification of quantitative technique is a mathematical. That means we are purely related to the mathematics. The mathematical techniques are used for the representation, the essential aspects of system used in mathematical language. For example, set theory, we already famous set theories and metrics, all are the mathematical side. Basically, mathematical models need to contain enough detail to answer the question of certain problems. And here this category of the quantitative technique is purely related with the mathematics. That means your set theory, permutations, combination, matrix, algebra, determine, differentiation, integration, differential calculus, lot of the mathematical techniques. So these are the important mathematical permutations and combination. We are using a lot of the permutations and combination. NCR and the NPR. There's a permutation is representing P and combination representing the C. Set theory, matrix. In the numerical classes, you are already familiar with set theories and the matrix. And determinant and the differential calculations, mathematical point of integration, differentiation. +2 mathematical students are familiar with the differentiations and integrations, calculus, a lot of the mathematical techniques. So the first classification of the quantitative techniques are relating with the mathematics. So that means we are using a lot of the mathematical tools for the decision making. So the permutation, the combination, set theories, matrix, the algebras, determinants, all are the important categories of the mathematical techniques that purely related with the mathematics. It's representing the mathematics. We're using the mathematical languages for the decision making. We're applying the d by dx of sin x. In mathematics is a cos x. D by dx of cos x differentiation is a minus sin x. So a lot of the symbols regarding the mathematical part of it. The first classification is the mathematical techniques. And the second one is the statistical techniques. The statistical techniques you are familiar, the economics point of view, the plus 2 classes, we are using a lot of statistical techniques. And what are the important statistical techniques? The statistical techniques in the quantitative techniques, we have to familiar lot of the quantitative techniques. That means statistical techniques. And the statistical methods are mathematical formulas or models which used for the research. The basic purpose is conducting the research. Whenever you are conducting the research, we can use a lot of statistical techniques. The statistical techniques providing a lot of the solutions for you the research. And what are the important statistical techniques? Listen, there is a collection of data collection, classifications, tabulations, your correlation, your regression, interpolation, index number, time series analysis, statistical control, ratio analysis, probability, sampling, analysis of variance, theory of attribute, measures of center tendency, that mean, median, mode, skewness, kurtosis, all are your statistical techniques. So regression and correlations are one of the important chapters in this syllabus. So there is a regression and the correlation. And these are the different categories of the statistical techniques. There is a collection of data, there is a classification, there is a correlation, there is a regression, there is interpolation, extrapolation, and the ratio analysis, probability, sampling, theory of attribute, measures of center tendency, mean, median, mode, and quartiles, percentiles, all are the part of the statistical techniques. We can use the different categories statistics. Mean, what the purpose of mean? Sigma fx divided by the n. Then the mode, most repeated item. Then L plus n by 2 minus cf divided by f into I. There is a median. So mean, median, mode. We can use a lot of the statistical techniques as part of the quantitative techniques. So regression and correlations. What is the correlation? The relation between the two variables, the correlation. What is the regression? Regression, that's a cause and effect relationship, the dependent and the independent variable. So these are the important statistical techniques are connected with your the QT. The second one is the statistical techniques. Okay, these are the important statistical techniques. And third one is your the programming techniques. The programming technique is also known as operational research. This techniques will be studied in your the PG classes, and we have to study the linear programming in the last chapter. That is one of the important topics in your syllabus. There is a linear programming. And programming technique is also known as operational research techniques. That's a techniques is used for the managerial decision making. Operation OR is the techniques are used for the managerial decision making. That means research point of view, you have to take the decision with help of the OR. This OR is representing the programming technique or the operational research. And what are the important categories of the operational research? There is a linear programming. Linear programming is a statistical analysis technique. Queuing theory, that means നമ്മൾ ബാങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ ക്യൂ നിൽക്കുമ്പോൾ എത്ര സമയം ക്യൂവിൽ നിൽക്കുന്നു, എത്ര വെയിറ്റിംഗ് ടൈംസ്, എത്ര സമയം സർവീസ് കിട്ടുന്നു, സർവീസ് കിട്ടാൻ എത്ര സമയം എടുക്കുന്നു, അത് കണ്ടുപിടിക്കും ക്യൂയിങ് തിയറീസ്. Inventory theories, inventory control point of view. Then you the game theories for calculating the business strategies, game theory. The decision theory, that we take the right decision, we are using the decision theory. Network program like PERT and CPM. EGPM, you have to study the concept PERT, program evaluation review techniques, and the critical path method. This is a part of the networking program. The two important techniques are PERT and the CPM, program evaluation review techniques, and the critical path method. Simulation, Monte Carlo simulations are used as decision making. SER theory, replacement, linear programming, dynamic programming, individual programming, and these are the different categories of the operational research. So we are using a lot of the operational research or the OR techniques for the decision making. It's include the linear programming, non-linear programming, queuing theories, inventory management, decision making, network programming, simulations, and the search theory. These are the important categories of the OR techniques. So we are using the lot of the OR techniques for the purpose of the decision making. Okay, so that is one of the important elements of the quantitative technique, that is the operational research or the OR techniques. Okay, and this is the third classification is the OR, that's a programming technique. The first one is the mathematical techniques, and second one is the statistical techniques, And third one is the programming technique, and these are the mathematical techniques, and these are statistical techniques, and third one, these are the programming techniques. And after that, find what are the functions of quantitative techniques. What are the important functions of quantitative techniques? The first important function of the quantitative technique, facilitate the process of decision making. So what is the purpose of quantitative technique? That means take the right decision. So one of the important functions of the quantitative technique is the facilitate the process of the decision making. That means decision making is easily possible. Take the right decision at the right time. Research point of view, we are taking the right decision right time with help of the quantitative techniques. And second one is providing a tool for the scientific research. It's providing the tools for scientific research. Science field, we can easily use the quant techniques because we have a lot of the mathematical and OR techniques. So we provide the tool for the scientific research. And third one is enabling the power deployment, that means effective utilization of the resources. Man, material, machine, money, we can effectively deploying and utilizing the resources. The quant techniques are helping the choosing the strategy. Game theory, OR techniques are always help to choose the right strategy for the business. That's the optimum strategy. The maximizing the profit and minimizing the losses. That's the optimum strategy. The QT is always helpful to choose optimum strategies. Hence helping the capital resource allocations. The tool is always useful for the capital resource allocations. This is a very important tool, is the capital resource allocation. And another one is minimizing the cost and maximizing the services. Cost weighting and service. That's minimizing the cost and maximizing the profit. This is one of the important mantra. One of the important function of the QT is the minimization of the cost and maximizing the services. The last important function is aid to determine the optimum sequence performance and setting the job to minimize the total processing time. That means the tools always help to minimizing the processing time. That means it's a take the right decision. It's a quick decision with the help of the quantitative techniques. These are the important functions of the QT. The first one, facilitate the process of the decision making. It provides the tool for the scientific research, enabling the power deployment of the resources. It helps in choosing the optimum strategy, helps in the capital resource allocation, and helps in the minimization of the cost, weighting and service. And aid determine the optimum sequence of performing the jobs so as to minimize the total processing time. Okay, these are the important functions of the quantitative techniques. Okay, let me conclude. The first we discuss what we mean by the term is the quantitative techniques. The quantitative techniques is the techniques used for the decision making. It includes a lot of statistical, mathematical and the numerical elements for the purpose of the decision making. So the term is known as the quantitative techniques. These are the important characteristics of the quant technique. That means based on large sample, replicated and defining the research question and careful designing of the problems using the statistical tools and generalizing the aspects and questionnaire computers and softwares can be easily implemented with help of the quantitative techniques. So these are the important characteristics of the quantitative techniques. And what are the classification? The classification is a mathematical, statistical and the programming techniques. The mathematical point of view, you are using the mathematical language like the permutation, the combination, the matrix, your determinant and the integration and differentiation. These are the important mathematical techniques. And second one, statistical technique. That means we are using the statistical analysis point to collecting the data, classification, tabulation, correlations, regression, ratio analysis, theory, center tendency. All are the part of the statistical techniques. And third one is the operational research technique. That means OR. Our point we are performing the linear programming, queuing theory and inventory control, game theory, decision making, non-linear theories, integer programming. All are the different categories of the programming techniques. And finally, what are the important function? First, the process decision making, provide tool for scientific research and the deployment of resources, choosing of optimal strategy and capital resource allocation and minimization of the cost, and is an aid for optimum sequence and performing the job. These are the important functions of the quantitative techniques. And once again, what is the quantitative techniques? The quantitative techniques is a techniques used for the managerial decision making. The term is known as the quantitative techniques. We are using the quantitative techniques in a lot of the business and industrial applications. Okay, anyway, thank you so much, and thank you for watching me.